Hello, everyone. I've noticed on the website TikTok, they have these live presentations where people are live and viewers can write comments. It could be someone relaxing or somewhere else in public. And I've also noticed on these lives are pictures, people selling a product or promoting a business scheme or some type of marketing. I'm not here to judge if what they're offering is good or bad. I'm not an expert in that field, and I have never met anyone who's bought into it or done it. In fact, the number of people I've met who have tried one of these business schemes is zero. And that's hopelessly insufficient information to make a judgment call. If I've met 100 people who've tried a particular scheme, picked at random, that would be a lot more useful. That's why I'm not here to tell you if they're good or bad. As I said, I don't know. But what I can say is be very careful before getting involved in any scheme. And I'm not referring to TikTok, anywhere, something a friend told you about, what you read about in the newspaper. Any type of scheme you get involved with, always be very careful before you get involved. And the one thing with me saying be careful, it sounds like I'm insinuating that there's always going to be something wrong with that, or with that scheme. And that's not true. Think of it this way. I believe that if you're about to buy a house, you should be very, very careful because it's a big expense and you make a mistake, you've lost a lot of money. That being said, I never said you mustn't buy a house. In fact, in many times buying a house is a great idea. I've lived in a house for approximately 50% of my life. I never said, I said you must never buy a house. I said you must be very careful before buying the house. With that, I've got an interesting anecdote that happened to me with one TikTok live. And of course, each one is different, so I'm referring to just one of them specifically. I am unsure if this is sad or funny or what. I was watching a lady pitching some sort of business opportunity on the live. I've forgotten the details. What I do remember is I spend more time watching her than other pitches I've seen. I wasn't planning on getting involved. I think I was curious about the presentation or what she had to say, or simply listening what this is all about. And while she's presenting, she can actually see who's watching, and she probably noticed I was there for a fairly long time watching, and she assumed I was interested in participating in the scheme. And in the website, she sent me a direct message encouraging me to participate or take the first step in the scheme of hers, and really made it look personal. She greeted me by the name and thanked me by my name, etc. But this is the part that got strange. In that paragraph where she's introducing me and introducing herself to me and welcoming me, etc., there were a few lines where she promoted herself. There were sentences like, "I'm a man you can trust. I'm a man with many years of experience," or "I'm the man who knows just how to guide you." I looked at those few lines, scratching my head. Am I daydreaming? I've been watching a lady presenting a business scheme, and she sent me a message saying, "I'm a man you can trust." What's going on? So I politely replied in a nice way. I said, "I'm a little bit confused. You keep referring to yourself as a man, but I'm watching you presenting. You look exactly like a woman. Like, what's going on?" And she apologized. She sent the wrong message. That's the one that her boss usually sends. It's as if she pressed the wrong button or clicked the wrong one. So think, what does this mean? It means she didn't really write the message. Either she or the system added my name at the beginning and pressed the button to send it off, or whatever she presses or clicks without looking, and sent the wrong one. At least she's probably being truthful when she says that's the one that her boss sends. That probably is the one that her boss sends when he's talking to people. And when a message is automated, pretending to be personal, It makes one wonder about how much care does this person take in the process in the future. And that reminds me of one other example where attention to detail or lack thereof is really glaring. A friend of mine once showed me a flyer he got in the mail more than once from a real estate agent. And that real estate agent claimed to have lots of experience in that particular area, in that neighborhood. And the reason why he showed me that flyer sure stood out, but not for the reasons that this agent intended. Obviously, English is not the first language of this real estate agent. The spelling and grammar in this flyer were beyond bad. It was shockingly bad, but shockingly terrible English grammar and spelling that we shook our heads. And some sentences we looked at, we just couldn't work out what he's saying. We stood, three or four of us, this line and this line and this line. What is he trying to say? It just didn't make sense. And I said to my friend, I don't blame him if English is not his first language. In fact, I'll bet his knowledge of English is probably 10,000 times better than my knowledge of his language. That's not the issue. It's the issue is that he never took the trouble. He could go to any person in his office and say, could you do me a favor and read over this for me? Could you check the grammar or spelling? Or he can go to a friend if there's none in his office, a relative. He must know someone who he could say, can you please do me a favor and just read over this and improve my English so I can send it out to others. So what really stood out is that this flyer that he's sending to so many people, if he couldn't be bothered checking that it's correct, how much attention and effort will he put to selling my house or anyone's house? And the issue is not the language or his lack of language, it's about the lack of care and attention. And both these stories do have a common thread. The real problem is not the mistake, it's the lack of effort. And of course, not every pitch is a scam. And as I said earlier, I'm not implying that. And I think in the real world, it's a sliding scale. This pitch, anyone who gets involved will say it's the most wonderful thing that's ever happened. Another one, absolute scam, I lost all my money. Another one, somewhere in the middle. Somewhere else, someone's pretty good. Another one, it is a great scheme, but you have to be built for it. Not every person has the same direction or ability, different fields. So each one is different. So we have to take one on its own merits. And on the topic of it can be somewhere in the middle, I have one cute, fun story. I was once taking an Uber ride, and he was driving an elegant car, which a lot of people are talking about. And I said to him, I'm just curious, are you happy with this car? And granted, judging a car is very subjective. I'm getting the opinion of one person, not hundreds of people, but still interesting to hear what he has to say. And he said to me, actually, I am very happy with this car. I'm very happy. He says, it's not as good as the salesman had made out, but I'm still happy with it. It's an interesting way to put it. Anyway, that's the reality of life. Some promises hold out, some do not. Sometimes we cannot tell until it's too late. Why I always stress again to be very cautious. If you're being rushed into a decision, or if a message seems too polished or impersonal, you might have just seen the curtain being pulled back, similar to the Wizard of Oz. So what's the takeaway here? Often, it's not the mistakes that expose insincerity, it's the shortcuts that people take. They assume you don't notice, but sometimes people do notice, and that's where all the trust disappears. Have you yourself ever had a moment where some sort of business pitch exposed itself by accident? Let me know in the comments. You don't even have to mention. In fact, it's better don't mention the name. I'm just curious. I'd love to hear your story, but you don't mention the name of that business. Check out more discussions in Martin Talks. Please subscribe if you want to hear about anything else. And please put in the comments any other topics you want to hear me talk about. And thank you all for watching.